Hello, my name is Scheril Murray Powell, Esquire. I'm a cannabis agricultural dietary supplement trade and regulatory attorney. I love the work that I do, and the work that I do is all about community. So, thank you for the Black Sustainability Summit for having me today and having me in past years. Now, although my work is mostly around cannabis, agriculture is something that really has captured my attention, and I think it's part of the sustainable plan for the Black people of the world. I am currently serving as the international first vice president of the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated. The Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated is an organization that was started by His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I. You may recall his name from the Rastafari faith, Rastafari lifestyle, Jah Rastafari. He gave the Black people of the world this vision for how we can be unified and unified across the diaspora and reestablish our relationship with the African continent. He felt that regardless of how you're treated in other places of the world, you will always have an identity and a home in Ethiopia. With that said, as the Black people of the world, we need to look to sources for economic growth and development. We have a lot of hurdles to overcome in this journey, but I do believe that cannabis is one of those vehicles to assist us with our plans around reestablishing trade to Africa, reparations, and repatriation. Now, with that said, let's talk about obvious trauma and things that we've experienced. As we roll off this weekend that we're joined together virtually and in person, we roll right into Indigenous Peoples Day. Indigenous Peoples Day is a replacement of the day that used to celebrate the colonizer, Christopher Columbus. There are celebrations worldwide. What we need to do is adopt the mindset of a global indigenous community and reestablish our tribal identity as a people. As you know, in the African continent, there are many different tribes. Our tribal identity precedes our country or nationality identity because that is man-made and that is a result of colonialism. Now, as Rastafari, we are a tribe ourselves, as Rastafari all around the world. So that's where my identity lies, is in being Rastafari, being African, and also being of Caribbean descent. I have a Taino heritage as well. So as we reflect on the Middle Passage, the Trail of Tears, colonialism, theft of land, Jim Crow, mass incarceration, and other abuses, we need to recognize that these things that have happened to us are indicative of multi-generational trauma, and we still hold that pain in our DNA. The sooner we understand that, embrace that, and combat that, the closer we will be in pursuing our full purpose. And each individual has their own purpose. I hope that you found yours, but if not, I suggest that you get into some serious meditation and prayer so you can feel that oneness with the source, Jah, God, Yahweh, Allah, the source of all things, and find that identity for yourself and find that purposefulness for yourself. When we see things that are happening in current times, I'll use even what's going on with Diddy right now. and the extreme violence that we've seen demonstrated, we have to understand the colonial ties to these behaviors so that we can recognize it in ourselves and reverse that and replace it with a spirit of love, wholeness, and a pursuit of happiness. When we see other people achieving, we need to be in celebration of their achievements. We need to make sure that we don't use that residue of colonialism to cause us to be divisive against each other. So going back to our conversation about, cannabis, once we combat the pains and the tragedies of our past, we can rise up in a mindset of, we are great. I am great. I am equipped. I was born equipped for my purpose. I was born equipped for my purpose. It's very important. One example that I love of this mindset is Cardi B. When Cardi B had it put on her spirit that she was going to be a rapper, a great rapper, a famous rapper, we mocked her. We laughed at her. She just walked around saying, I'm great, I'm going to be great, and I'm going to achieve this thing. And we thought that it was a joke. But she knew what had been spoken into her spirit. She knew what her purpose was. And she achieved greatness. She may not be the best lyricist, in your opinion. She may not be in your top 5, but there's no denying that she has had a successful rap career because she believed in self. And because she believed in what she was told about her purpose. And because she didn't take no for an answer, and she moved beyond the mocking. She moved beyond the laughter. She moved beyond the joke. So we can take a page out of her book and remember that we should pursue greatness. We should pursue happiness. And we should want to believe in ourselves, regardless of what people around us say. Because oftentimes people around us are traumatized. They are holding in their DNA this pain from multiple generations, not just their own experiences. That's just surface level. Because hurt people hurt people. So with that said, let's talk about, this critical state in cannabis. As a cannabis consumer, as a cannabis person who has worked on laws across the country and around the world, I know that it's important that we unify around certain legislative priorities right now. The first legislative priority that should be important to us is federal legalization, but not just any federal legalization, descheduling. Descheduling of cannabis will give us many benefits. In fact, it gives you all of the benefits of rescheduling. But in addition to that, it completely resolves our banking issues. In addition to that, it gives us criminal justice reform on a federal level. And then we can pursue things that are important to us as well, such as bringing people home, returning our citizens home, reuniting families for those who are serving time for nonviolent crimes, nonviolent cannabis crimes. Also, an issue that's not really spoken about a lot is deportation. Many families have been separated due to deportation. Once we have federal descheduling, we can start looking at federal law and allowing these individuals who have been separated from their families to return home, to get a chance to pursue economic development in this country. So, Descheduling is an important issue for us, and it should be one of our legislative priorities on a federal level, and also something that we're informing and educating our state regulators and other influencers about. Other issues that are very important is access to capital. If you ask a cannapreneur or a cannabis entrepreneur about, what issues are holding them back, many of them will say access to capital. We have people in these states that have launched social equity programs. Social equity programs started in Oakland, California, and they've cascaded across the country. So we have people who are now licensees due to social equity, but they don't have the funds to start their businesses. They don't have the funds for build out. They don't have the funds for employees. They don't have the funds to purchase inventory. What we can do about that is really work within our community to create this capital and access this capital. Oftentimes what happens as a result of individuals getting these social equity licenses is because there isn't access to capital, and because traditional banking will not give lending. They don't lend to us anyways for the most part, but because there's an issue with capital, then individuals, in order to activate their licenses and open their stores and open their cultivation sites, they are dependent on predatory lending. This is a big problem. People don't have access to legal counsel, so they're signing anything. And a lot of times they're signing their businesses away. We want to mitigate that issue. We want to make sure that individuals will have good legal counsel as they're negotiating these deals, but we also want to look within our community for real estate moguls or other entrepreneurs that have been successful in various sectors of business, and encourage them to be educated about cannabis. And then beyond being educated about cannabis, we want to encourage them to invest in these companies. Not only that, but I have a methodology that I've shared in CANRA to the Cannabis Regulators Association and in other settings, where our ultimate goal with this social equity strategy should be that we strengthen these new legal cannabis entrepreneurs to the point that they're so successful that they become the lenders of tomorrow, that they start lending to social equity. That is our goal. So how do we do that? Well, one thing we have to push back against is this second wave of enforcement. If we're enforcing against the illicit market before the illicit market has an opportunity to join the legal market, then that is premature. If we are giving more money to law enforcement related to enforcing against illicit cannabis locations, then we are giving in grants and zero or low interest loans to our cannabis entrepreneurs, then we're doing it wrong. We need to create this new ecosystem of minority, small business, economic growth, so that they become the conscious capitalist investors in the future. That's exactly where we're driving towards, and we can achieve it. So as we're going from state to state and country to country lobbying, we have to remember these things. One, we want to deschedule. We want no one else to go to prison for cannabis. It doesn't make any sense. We want to encourage federal legalization so that we can have people who are convicted of federal crimes come home. We want to make sure that there's criminal justice reform. We also want to make sure there's fair and equitable access to banking. We want all individuals involved in this industry to be able to get good legal counsel so that they're not forced into predatory contracts based on lack of access to funds, access to capital. So with that said, We have a lot of work ahead of us, but we need to know that we are what we got. And we need to look in community to resolve and solve these problems that are existing right now. That's really important. Also, there's still a lot of stigma. So we need to make sure that we're evangelizing in all spaces so people are properly informed about where this industry is going. Speaking about the opportunity, cannabis is a plant. It is plant-based medicine. It is a plant-based economy. So like other commercial products made from plants, it can provide food, nutrition, housing, medicine, textiles, and so much more. So we need to look at all the areas, all the business opportunities, and encourage the lawmakers to provide centers of excellence and opportunities to learn and funding to start businesses so we can use cannabis as a vehicle. What is cannabis a vehicle for? Well, with cannabis, you can restore economies. With cannabis, you can restore people from addiction. And there's an addiction epidemic happening right now. Living in Harlem, I know for sure that there is an addiction epidemic. In the mornings, walking my son to school, I would see, people on the street, and you can clearly see that, opioids, fentanyl have really gotten them. Cannabis can help. So cannabis can be a restorer from addiction. Cannabis is all about wellness. So cannabis can also restore you from chronic illness. There are so many stories authenticated by science of people who were sick with various ailments, various indications, cancer, epilepsy, MS, HIV and AIDS, the list goes, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, the list goes on, where cannabis was the saving grace for these individuals. I don't want to say that cannabis is the answer for everything, but I do believe that there's value in this commercialized plant. And keep in mind, when we say commercialized plant, keep in mind that it was given to us as indigenous people for our use. You can go to Revelations 22:2. Cannabis is the healing of the nation. In Rastafari and a Hindu community and some Judaic communities, in indigenous community, cannabis is a holy sacrament. Not having access to cannabis is a violation of your human rights, your religious freedom, your culturally protected rights, according to the United Nations. So we need to make sure that we are protecting this right to access. And finally, cannabis can restore a sense of community by us creating this ecosystem that I'm describing, where it feeds itself, we find funding from ourselves, we get healing from ourselves, all within community. It's happened before. It's actually our divine inheritance. And I believe that it can happen again. So I just want to thank you for your time. Again, my name is Scheril Murray Powell, Esquire, Cannabis Agricultural Dietary Supplement Trade, Psychedelic and Regulatory Attorney, and also the International First Vice President of the Ethiopian World Federation. I appreciate you. I am one with you, and I look forward to us doing this work together so that we can restore our community and take advantage of our cannabis plant as medicine, nutrition, textiles, housing, all of the things. We've done a lot of the work to get here with regards to legalization. Let's go all the way and let's reunify our families. One perfect love. Give thanks.